talking about the Gaia Project without having ever discussed Terra Mystica, it doesn't make any sense. It's kind of like trying to discuss John Lennon's solo career without having ever first explored the Beatles. Or kind of like trying to analyze Brian Wilson's breakdown in the 90s without having ever heard the pure genius of Pet Sounds. That's not to say that Gaia Project is somehow a breakdown or an esoteric self-indulgent exploration compared to Magnificence. It is simply to say that Terra Mystica made me fall in love with board games. And Gaia? Well, Gaia's a sequel. Gaia Project is in space, and in space there isn't enough space. The only solution is to take your space species and make more space for yourself. By terraforming, each player picks a dorky Poundland illustrated sheet full of plastic little houses called mines and plops them onto planets over the course of 6 rounds. Later, those houses can be upgraded to trading stations, which themselves can be upgraded into planetary institutes, which will unlock a special ability unique to your species, or alternatively can be upgraded into research labs, which unlock technologies, and then can again be upgraded into academies, which unlock more technologies. When I say Terra Mystica made me fall in love with board games, that's not to say that, ooh-wee, that there's the first board game that I played and put a firecracker down my pants. No. What I mean to say is that I played many board games before that, and do you know what? I loved some of them, but it's not until I played this game that I realized that I want board games to be a big part of my life.
Do you, Efka, take Terra Mystica to be your lawfully wedded board game? In sickness and in health forever and ever and ever, till the metagame is stale and until the cardboard rots and the worms are poking through it.
Do I? I do. I do, because Terra Mystica showed me just how devilishly complicated games can be, how they can challenge me in every single step, yet offer me choices in all of those steps, how they can be just as competitive as those games with miniatures on the map. But it's a Eurogame, and in that regard, Gaia is just as wonderful. And in Gaia, your space species is your space species because it allows you to do something that no one else can do. You're given an entire picnic hamper full of resources, and these are actually not resources. They're just pieces in other players' colors because resources are tracked on this board right here, but I had to illustrate their abundance somehow, didn't I? And you can do anything you like. Do you want to build this big, stupid, dumb planetary institute on round 1? You can do that. Do you want these research institutes or academies on round 1 so you could get yourself a new tech? Yes, you can do that. And how about a mine shaft full of mines, just planting them around the map? Also doable. And you know what? It's not that just they're doable, it's that they're all viable strategies to set you up towards winning the game. And now I have to sort out all these resources because I can't just leave them like that. Each time you build something, well, first you'll have to pay for whatever you're building. That's not the exciting part, but the exciting part is actually you get to take the piece off the board and plonk it down on the map, and then you'll reveal a new symbol, and that symbol is usually something extra you will get during the income phase at the start of each round. New resources, and in that way Gaia is very much like an advent calendar. Each time you scratch something off, you reveal a new toy to mess around with, and you go, ooh, what is that? What is it? Apparently it's a brainstone. I probably shouldn't eat it. And just as Gaia giveth, so it diminisheth, and it diminisheth your ability to go on massive shopping sprees. The round ends when you say it ends, which is usually when you have spent all of your resources. And suddenly you find yourself like a student in a giant intergalactic shopping mall, and you've spent your entire student loan in day 1. And you mostly bought things made out of fermented sugar, and you're going to have to make the next 3 to 8 years work. Do you know what? You do make it work. Advantages in Gaia are small, and that's an understatement, and you have to put in a lot of work to milk that udder of engine building. Let's say I want to build a mine. I can only build a mine on planets, obviously, and first of all, if I don't have a yellow planet next to me, I have to build on a planet that is not of my type, and to do that, I have to terraform. I can also build planets that are not adjacent to me, but that costs QICs, and they're a really versatile and hard to come by resource. So to terraform this particular planet, which is the only planet that right now is adjacent to me and available to be terraformed, I have to spend a number of terraforming steps dependent on what species I'm playing and also what type the planet is. In this particular case, that's 3 terraforming steps. Each terraforming step is 3 ore and plus the 1 ore for building the mine itself. That would cost me a total of 10 ore. I start the game with 7 and then I get about 4 each round. Guess what I have to do to increase the number of ore I get at the start of every round? That's right, build more mines. You'll struggle. In round 2, you'll maybe muster a single build or an upgrade before you eventually run out of money again. But then, if you played smart, returns will start flowing in small increments, and you'll notice how dividends come back like a bonsai tree that shed all its leaves in a bout of stress and then sprang its first new one, as if to tell you that you haven't actually killed it. When your opponents build something near you, you get to charge power, which are these purple discs on your player sheet. When you charge power first, you have to charge anything that's in bowl number 1 into bowl number 2, and then when there's nothing in bowl number 1 left, you get to charge it from bowl number 2 into bowl number 3, and then when there's things in bowl number 3, you get to spend it on various goods and resources or taking special actions at rates your landlord might find exorbitant. And the better your buildings are, the more power you get to charge, but at the cost of victory points. And suddenly, all this placement, all these expensive spaces matter because you want to be adjacent to your opponents. So everything has an upside and a downside, and you're just a sad space clown on a tight wire, desperately trying to hold for balance whilst juggling razor blades of bankruptcy. I'm making this game sound harsher than it really is, and I promise you satisfaction is guaranteed somewhere down the line, because the more you build, the more the cogs turn, becoming an example of trickle-down economy that actually works because it trickles down from you to you, and then the 6th round looms in front of you and you can no longer sit in your seat because the anticipation of seeing it all come together burns your bottom every time you park it after telling yourself, Efka, sit down, you are being inappropriately excited about playing this game. Absolutely extraordinary reviewers, Shut Up and Sit Down, whose opinion I enormously respect, have accused the changes in Gaia to be mostly fat, added to what is by no means a garden salad of a game, recommending Terra Mystica overall to those starting out with the series. But this time, I would have to respectfully disagree by saying that we would almost recommend Gaia over Terra Mystica. Wait a minute, doesn't that just mean we agree? No, not quite. Gaia's changes aren't fat. They are, in fact, sugar. Terra Mystica has this weird cult track, not really sure what kinds of other cult tracks exist. Advancing on this track was important to win the game because the players at the very top would earn the most points, enough points to make it an essential part of your winning strategy. But advancing on this track was just about as fun as advancing in the ranks of a real cult, where you spent decades worth of earnings for an entirely perceived reward. Gaia, however, like an interstellar tractor or maybe a cumbersome space marine rhino, also gives you tracks. But these are tracks filled with candy. Every single advancement either gives you an immediate reward or improves your spaciness. Whereas here, look, I moved up the track, nothing happens. I moved up the track, nothing happens. I moved up the track, I got 1 power. I moved up the track, nothing happens. It's fun, right? You can train to fly better, so you move up on the track that increases the range at which you terraform. Maybe you want terraforming itself to be cheaper, go up on the brown track. Maybe you want more Gaia formers and the cost of Gaia forming planets to be reduced, then you can move up on this track. Or you can even go up on the track that lets you train better, so you can train more, so you can increase the rate at which you train so that you can do more training. Admittedly, some of these things already existed in Terra Mystica, but now they're all here condensed into a single board, and it feels less flat and more dynamic. But the real icing on the cake is the advanced technology tile that you get when you reach the top of any track. And these are very much like a glacé cherry, but so good you actually want to eat it. It's a reward. It's like putting down that final sentence on your dissertation and knowing that you still have to edit it because it's rough, but the final body of work is done somehow, despite all those years of procrastinating and alcohol. Let's explore how this works in the game. Say you're playing Terrans, who get extra resources for terraforming the special Gaia planets, which don't have a terraforming cost of ore, but rather require you to move all your power to a special area where it becomes unusable for a round. Not only do you get to invest in technology that gives you more Gaia formers necessary for the job, but you also notice that there's a basic tech tile that gives you 3 points every time you terraform a Gaia planet, an advanced technology tile at the top of the track that scores you 3 points each time you build any mine, and additionally you notice that during round 6 you'll score 4 extra points each time you Gaia form. Instead of cashing in on your species bonus on round 5, you send out your Gaia formers to work, but wait until you reach that advanced tech tile to turn them into mines, and during round 6 you cash in for a whopping 30 points! As cool as Terra Mystica was, I don't remember combo-tastic delight of such proportions. Neither fat nor sugar is an essential ingredient, but if we're talking about signing up folks to play heavy Eurogames who are not necessarily used to heavy Eurogames, then I'd rather give them cake than sign them up to Scientology. Either version of Terra Mystica is a complicated, but most importantly, highly competitive game that will not just test your wits, but also your ability to stay cool under the unrelentingly boring drill of math as you spin out of control. I'll cut it short. If this is your first game, you will lose. But everyone I introduced to the Terra Mystica system via Gaia had fun losing. They got to poke and prod and explore. They weren't necessarily playing a reactionary game. They had a plan and they got to execute it. And even if their plan wasn't the best plan necessarily, they still got that cherry at the top. But Gaia don't stop there. Dotted across the system, get it, system because it's space, are little of quality of life improvements, such as the revision to the power system, which no longer creates abusive relationships between you and your opponent's structures, or the new technology tiles, which are less of an automatic decision and more of a considered revision. But all of this sponge sugar stuff shatters if you've got no one to guide you. And not because Gaia is any more complicated, it's just not as accessible. If you and your friends have never played either version before and you're not generally used to the heavier side of gaming, then this might just be a slog you are not ready for. And it all comes down to this rulebook and how it treats its readers. The purpose of this manual is very clear, that is to impart all of the rules, which is a noble and valiant cause, but just like a lone knight riding into battle with nay but a bucket for a shield against an army of 5,000 barbarians, that is futile, and frankly a little bit stupid. And whilst one admires the bravery, well, it doesn't even manage to do that, if I'm honest. Technically, all the rules are there, if we count the added clarification, but there are so many ambiguities during actual play that threads on Board Game Geek with clarification needed sprung up like mushrooms spring up after a heavy rain. In our first game, we had us diving through the rulebook every 5 minutes just to check if we're doing things right or if we got the Gaia forming thing correct, and this is coming from someone who could probably teach you the original Terra Mystica blindfolded. Right. First, you need to know that there are 8 actions. There's a tablet here, that's not the tablet. This tablet here tells you what the actions are. You want to build a mine, and you just build the mine. You need to spend this, and I can't find the. Is that the resource? I think that's a bridge. Anyway, you can upgrade the mine into a trading station, and there's some. If you upgrade the trading station to a temple, then you can get a favor trial. I don't think I'm doing very well. Let me show you what I mean. It's round 1 and we want to Gaia form this transient planet, which requires us to move all our power from our power balls to this reserved Gaia space. Now the income phase of round 2 comes up and we're eagerly anticipating receiving all the power that we're owed. Except we won't get any because there is no power in the balls to move around, which is I guess, obvious if you've played Terra Mystica before and you read the rulebook, but it doesn't specifically mention that. It just lists the sequence of events, which is not very friendly to people who are new to this game, and I could easily see them making that mistake in round one and going, well, that mucked up my game. I don't want to play this. Can we restart? Can we restart this game? Because... And it's laborious and tedious, isn't it? And can we talk about Gaia's theme for a second? Look, I know that not everyone who likes heavy Euro games really cares about theme that much at all. But I like to play games not just for the mechanisms, but I like to get lost in the worlds that they create. And I don't even care if it's something overused like sci-fi or fantasy. I just want to see how the game executes that theme. And the way Gaia executes its theme is by... well, it just doesn't. There is some space art. Coincidentally, it is the unintentionally funniest board game art since Terraforming Mars. And that's it. I mean, Terra Mystica wasn't necessarily the best game in that regard, but at least it had something. It had a backstory for each race, something to chew on. And look here, who are these space bird people? What secrets do the Hajj Halash hold? Do they tickle you into submission with their feathers? Nothing. Gaia's theme is as cold as the space it inhabits. And yet, mechanically, it makes me jump like a seal jumps for sardines. Is it better than Terra Mystica? Without a shadow of a doubt, yes, it is. Look, I love this game, but I love this game so much more. And should you buy it? Should you get it? Well, if you've played Terra Mystica as much as I have, you already have this. It's on your shelf. I don't need to tell you. And if you're into heavy games, my friend, it will set your loins on fire. And if you're not into heavy games and you're kind of curious, you're wondering, maybe I should try this, then, well, it's ugly, it's got no theme, and the rulebook is the lead to the sonar of your brain. And I'm not going to make that decision for you. Hello! I just broke my wooden insert for Terra Mystica. That's just one of the tiniest costs of making this channel entertaining, informative, and independent from publishers. And what we want from you right now is to hit that subscribe button. Because A, it's good for your health, and B, well, you're gonna see more of these entertaining, fun, informative videos. We look out for each other. Bye bye.